Lots of serious looking faces. Does anybody have a good joke? I'll have to come prepared next time.
Winnipeg is 30 plus 37 Celsius today, and we're getting snow. They're predicting snow Friday and Saturday.
That's a good joke.
That's a real good joke. Yeah. Yeah.
It's because it's May long weekend. We always have bad weather on May long.
Snow, please.
Well, I think it'll be the odd flake, but
Okay. So I am going to get going now. Hi, I'm Dave Smith, and I am your chair for tonight. So I have posted in the chat a couple of times now what the agenda is. I'll do it just one more time. And then I just want to start off by saying thank you to all of you for the awesome work that you did for all of our Earth Day events. And not just to you, but all the other organizers and the volunteers who participated in that. I unfortunately don't get to participate in all the events that go on across Canada, but I do get to see all the photos and videos that you send in, and I do actually look through them all. And I can say that I'm really impressed by some of the ideas and the energy that all of you put into those events. I want to thank you for giving up some of the time of your life, a time when, as seniors, we should be enjoying things like nature. But instead, you've given up your time to be able to organize something to focus on climate. And with all your brilliant ideas, all the planning that you've had to do for them, the problems that you've had to overcome, and the sheer physical effort of setting up and tearing down your event. So thank you, one and all. Awesome. So our goal for, round of applause. Our goal for the Earth Day event was to get climate back on the agenda, but also to change Earth Day a little bit to something that's more action oriented. And so I have to ask, did we do that? I'd like to think that Canada's oil and gas companies wrote their letter to the candidates during the election in March because they heard that we were organizing. I'd like to think that anyways. But certainly, we brought it to the attention of our endorsers. We brought it to the attention of our subscribers. And we brought it to the attention of the people who attended. And I will mention that we also had two partnerships during this project. So For Our Kids partnered up with us in a number of different locations across Canada. And we also had support from, pardon me, Environmental Defense in Ontario. And they heavily promoted us. We appreciate that. We certainly brought it to the attention of the politicians who attended. But since the news media were looking elsewhere, we were one of the major groups actually making it happen. So I think that we might have moved the needle a little bit. Maybe we didn't jump 10 kilometers an hour, but we did move the needle a little bit. So thank you once and all, once again. I will mention that there's been a couple of changes to the agenda. So Louise Como, unfortunately, isn't able to attend tonight, so I'm taking over her items. And we had an item about an action happening in Ottawa in May. That's been removed. But we have also added in discussion on Seniors Week and the Canadian Environmental Week. So we will get to those. So now I'm going to ask if Erlene would do our land acknowledgement. Erlene, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dave, and hello, everyone. So I live, work, and play on land commonly called Vancouver that has never been bought, sold, or traded from the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples who have stewarded this land since the last ice age. And it's an honor to occupy this space for our meeting in hopes that our intention may include disruption of colonizing and keeping with reconciliation of our peoples. We thank those Indigenous peoples and their ancestors, and we offer our support to future generations. We also raise our hands in gratitude to the land, the water, the plants, and the animals, all our relations, and steward those places which nurture us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, with the continuing and strengthening intention to give back with the purpose of helping to heal our sick Earth Mother. UBC professor and member of the Lytton First Nations, Dr. Jennifer Grenz, encourages us to tell and receive stories as treasured gifts and accept the responsibility to share them with those who are interested in living a life with purpose of healing and connection. To use stories as data, as the spark that can change ecology, as tools of learning. Let us learn to tell stories about dancing with all of our ancestors from around the world, recognizing and learning the history of colonizing and a need for change, of Red Dress Day, of Orange Shirt Day, of ribbon skirts, of the child caravan. Dr. Shannon Waters, a young Coast Salish doctor on Vancouver Island, planetary health, talks about the extreme drought on Vancouver Island, normally a rainforest. And she works to trace the path. As a first step to this connection, she challenges us to learn the word for water of the Indigenous peoples in each of our areas, noting that there are over 130 Indigenous languages in BC alone. By reflection on the way in which each of us of these words expresses a deeper meaning beyond the simple molecule H2O, we in turn might embrace more fully our responsibilities to both our planet and to each other. As elders ourselves, it is our responsibility to give back to this land in reciprocity for being here, to educate with wise action about the history of this land and center our actions on three principles of Indigenous research: reciprocity, relationality, and respect. Try to remember the truth that nature always brings us home. Time is ever unfolding, and not just when we notice. Merely by breathing, we belong to the eternal. If nature and the stories of our Indigenous friends have taught us anything, it is that nothing prevents the passage of time and the turning of the seasons. As our eyes grow dimmer and colors are fading, let's look at the world as other animals do, by intensifying our senses and tapping into and caring for our ragged world together. Thank you.
Thank you, Erlene. That was beautiful. Really was. Appreciate that. Okay, out of something so beautiful, I'm going to move into something unfortunately very mundane, but I want to give you this information. So the national update. So at the end of our Earth Day event, we now have 81 locations on our map. So most recently, we've added Carmen and Dauphin, Manitoba. We also added Brandon in and Steinbeck and Port Rowan, Ontario, and Jasper. And I'm sure that if you count, you'll say, well, that's more than 4 locations because we were at 77 at the end of October. We did go down a couple, so we have lost a couple of locations, but we are up to 81 now. I also want to mention that we have now almost 4,000 subscribers on our list. The number is 3,952. So with 48 more, we're going to make the 4,000 list. Our target is to have 5,000 by the end of June, and let's hope we're going to make that. I also get to do the next item on the agenda. So first of all, I get to do the next item on the agenda, which is the Earth Day results. So I'll start by sharing a presentation that I put together. Forgive me, it's going to take me a minute or two to get going here. Share. And I want to be able to do the presentation, but I got to pull this down. Presentation slideshow from the beginning. So I hope you all can see that. Like I said, I get to see all the wonderful photos that you send in. And so I've gone through them when I first started putting this presentation in and tried to pull at least one picture out from each of the locations that I'd received up to this point. So there are some of them, but you're going to get a chance to see a few more a little bit later. So we had 59 locations with events, 33 up until almost virtually yesterday. I had been receiving evaluations. We had 22 locations that submitted photos or videos, and we had 2 locations that submitted subscribers. So I will encourage you, if you have any subscriber lists where you were able to gather people's names to be able to go on our list, please do send them in and help us get past the 4,000 mark and well on to 5,000. Our estimated total attendance is 6,004. And we basically did that by, taking the locations that had reported attendance and kind of averaging it out to include the others that didn't. We had 13 locations that said that they had between 1 and 50 attendees. I don't think there was anyone that had 1, a lot more than that. We had 10 locations that had between 51 and 100, 4 locations with 101 to 200, and 5 locations with 201 to 300. The average number of volunteers working on an event was 11. The lowest number was 2, and the highest number was 56. Be nice to be able to take some of those 56 people and kind of spread them out across the country to equalization volunteers, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. The question, did date flexibility help get age diverse audience? 16 answered yes, 9 answered no, and another 8 did not answer either yes or no. The media stories. We have collected 26 media stories so far. Sometimes they drib and drab in, or we find something later. Almost all of them, in fact, all of them were regional and local coverage. I do want to mention that as a result of the action at the New Brunswick legislature, we did have an interview with Rosie Barton on CBC scheduled, but unfortunately the tragedy in Vancouver happened and our interview was preempted, although I understand that it may happen again later. So in answer to the question, did your event get media coverage? 11 locations said yes, 7 locations said no, and 15 didn't say yes or no. What went well? So these are just themes. After having read through all the responses, it seemed that people thought that they had a good program. People were really happy with the audiences that they were getting, generally the numbers, as well as the audience reactions. Lots of people thought having the film was a really, really great idea. Later is too late. And of course, in Canada, we have to say the weather. And what would you change next time? Quite a few people said the program. A number said promotion and outreach. Some said planning and organizing, and some said the venue. So I know that at least on my view of the screen, you see the photo that's there. It reads Calgary at the very top, but in fact, that's a shot of Kingston, Ontario, and that's one of the things we want to change next time. How successful was your event? Where 1 is low and 10 is high. Nobody rated below a 5. We had two locations that rated a 5, 2 locations that rated a 6, 11 locations that rated a 7, 10 locations that rated an 8, 3 for 9, 3 for 10, and 2 were unrated. And in answer to the question, how would you raise the rating? 6 locations said better attendance, 4 said improve the program, and another 2 said more advertising. In answer to the question, were there any politicians at your event? 17 said yes, 13 said no, and 3 did not say either yes or no. And what level of government was represented? 6 said federal, 4 said provincial or territorial, 1 said regional, and 7 said municipal. We haven't done a cross analysis between the October results and this results, but as I recall, we also in the October event had a lot more municipal representatives than we did provincial or territorial or federal. On national support from the national team, what wouldn't you change? So a number said, don't change the support you provide, keep it at the same level. Some people said the resource materials. Some people said don't change the website, and some people said don't change the organizers meetings. There did seem to be a trend on what to change, and that was to get more publicity for the events. And that's the end of the results. I'll just take a minute or two and show you the pictures that we have. And I'm sorry if the photos of the Zoom photos are cutting off the side. Okay. So we do want to open up the floor for a short time. Pardon me. We have about 6 minutes. If anybody has any ideas on, we wanted to have a discussion on the qualitative points here. And so if anybody saw changes from the October event to the Earth Day event, whether it was the number of groups involved, whether it was the media coverage, could you tell us what you saw a big change in, and why do you think that change occurred? So, for example, our media coverage increased, and I think the reason is because we had a flash dance. So if you'd raise your hand.
Lori Goldman. Lori Goldman.
Hello.
Hi, Laurie.
Hi. I think that our media coverage in Penticton improved. I wrote up a media release that I thought was more impactful, and we were in a lot of paper media as well as online, and the local radio station called, and I had 3 interviews, and which I've recorded, so that was great. And people actually said, "Oh, yes, I heard that this morning." And so I thought that was kind of different for us. We've never really had media radio, and so that was good. We had a lot of people come out to our Sorry, I have a clock that is birds, and so it's noisy. So we had a good turnout, mostly because we actually engaged schools directly, and it was a Pro D day, so the professional development, so the kids were out of schools, and they came because they had made climate flags. So we had a great range of ages, and it was a perfect day. And we had a lot of fun, but certainly media was great. And I think the media release that we had had an impact.
Thank you very much, Lori. Tylene, go ahead.
Hey, we had better media coverage. We had more people. We had more organizations. Like everything across the board was more. I think our experience with October 1st helped us. We've been working a lot on our networking all along. So then those connections, like we had a lot more direct contacts instead of just sending to organizations. And another thing that we did that worked awesome, maybe all of you are like, no kidding, but we put our event on Eventbrite, and we got a lot of people attending through that. And we also had some of our media contact us through that. Like it was how volunteers contacted us through that. So that was really helpful. And found tons of calendars, like Edmonton, various different calendars that you can post your event on. And then lots of them, you could link it to Eventbrite. So then it could take you to where you could and it kind of gave us a feel for how much coverage our event was getting, because people, even though they were free, people could purchase a ticket, and then you got an idea of how many people were actually seriously thinking about coming. So I think that was those were some really helpful tips.
Thank you very much, Tylene. Avril, go ahead. Avril?
Thanks very much, Dave. Mine is a question. Because the Earth Day took place during the federal election, I'm wondering if any of the groups took it upon themselves to invite candidates to the national candidates to their events, and whether there were any obvious uptake of that.
I know that some of them did. Actually, some of the events were all candidates' meetings for the federal election.
Yeah, very interesting. And it just was, I think, a happy confluence of that possibility. But at the same time, Dave, it also drew a lot of people away because they were busy working on campaigns with different candidates and things. So,
yeah,
a good and bad scenario there.
Yeah. Thank you, Avril. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yes, I'm going to answer that question. I think we greatly affected the election in Kelowna. We were working with the two candidates, Stephen Furr and Trevor McLeese, and they both attended, or one of the representatives attended, and got information from the film Later is Too Late regarding LNG. We promoted the East-West electrical grid that Seniors for Climate wanted across Canada by CBC on the radio, and also Castanet came after CBC did, and we had a chance to say, do we want to digress from Trump's agenda with pipelines and go forward with a just transition to a green, sustainable economy using this East-West electrical grid? And I think it really made an impact. And I think the candidates were affected by it. And consequently, Jagmeet Singh brought up the East-West electrical grid at the national level, because I also advocated with him to bring it up with the election, and they did. And there was a kind response from Mark Carney. And I really believe that was an impact that we were, and Stephen Furr won the election, and we are a very conservative riding of conservatives. So we felt that that we affected the election, and we also promoted this East-West electrical grid that Seniors for Climate wants.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Barb, you're going to be the last comment. We're going to have to move on after you.
So we were less ambitious and less successful, but so we screened the 23-minute version of the documentary, and we invited all of the candidates. The only one that was obvious by her absence was the sitting member who happens to be a Tory, but everybody else was there, including the representative of the People's Party. And one of the things that was really interesting was they all said that they had been at all candidates' meetings leading up to Earth Day, and this was the first time that anybody was interested in asking any question about the climate, and they thought that that was really, really important and really good that we did that.
Thank you very, very much, Barb. So this discussion actually leads well into the next agenda item that Nick is going to cover. But before we leave it, I do want to mention again that if you did receive any media contacts and you haven't sent them in to us, would you please do that? We're building a media log of all the different media organizations at various levels in Canada for our next event. And we would love to hear who you receive coverage from. So the next item on the agenda is a discussion of the federal election, and Nick is going to lead us through that. Nick?
Thanks, David. So yeah, so what we want to do now is get a sense from you of how you felt about the election, where things stand now, and what it looks like going forward. So it's just a matter of opening the floor and people have some comments on that. How did you feel about the outcome of the election and what we're facing at this point? Of course, the cabinet was appointed today. I haven't had a chance to follow it. Maybe some people can comment on that as well. And who wants to go first? Big question. So are you satisfied with the election? Did it turn out okay? Are things looking good at this point? Anne?
Yeah, I have very mixed feelings about the election. Mark Carney has talked about turning Canada into an energy superpower. That to me doesn't bode very well for the planet. The energy minister that he has just named is a former board member of one of the oil sands producers, and is also a investment banker, formerly with Goldman Sachs. I think that Carney's emphasis also on conventional energy as well as renewable energy argues to me that, you know, he is going to develop oil and gas, and he is going to develop a pipeline, and the east-west electricity grid may be twinned with a pipeline as well. So I think that we have our work cut out for us to try to steer the government through force of our numbers and opinion, to steer them away from an oil and gas and pipeline agenda towards 100% renewables with storage and regional interconnected grids, which would amount to an east-west grid. So I think we have our work cut out for us. So my feelings are mixed.
Thanks, Anne. Bernine?
Yeah, my feelings are mixed as well. Although that was almost inevitable. Although we lost 2 of our ridings in Northern Ontario, we had 10 ridings, and we were reduced to 8. And the 2 that we lost were our long-standing NDP members, Carol Hughes and Charlie Angus. And their ridings got chopped up and assigned variously to adjacent ridings. And both of those ridings went Conservative, which we had not had before. We were previously 1 Conservative in the far northwest in Kenora, Kennewaden. But now we have 3. So regionally, we're not very happy, both with the reduction of representation and with the shift that brought. And I'm also, like Anne, very cautious about the Carney messaging. I'm very glad that we have Carney instead of Poilievre. but his messaging around the energy superpower and the energy that, you know, the Canada wide transmission corridor, the energy corridor, whatever he's calling it, it's not good news. That is not a good news story. And I hope that's not what Seniors for Climate are advocating for, because that is more material for mega projects. And I'm very concerned about his repeated reference to both clean and conventional, which to me sounds like nuclear and fossil. Clean and conventional is nuclear and fossil. And the transmission corridor is a way to create autobahns to move those mega project electricity projects, move that power around. And that is not a climate friendly or environmentally friendly route. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm really happy that Jonathan Wilkinson isn't Minister of Natural Resources, but we'll have to see. We'll have to remain optimistic and very cautious and always pressing. Thanks.
Thank you. Catherine?
I would say the same. I'm cautious, but I'm very pleased that we left our conservative riding and became a liberal riding. And I believe Stephen Furr is a listener, and that Carney has taken part in environmental activities, which gives me some hope that he will further an electrical grid across Canada. I agree that electricity should not be used for LNG projects, which it has in BC. And I'd like to digress from all LNG, but we're finding it hard in BC too. To digress, given Christy Clark started us down that road in BC, and it's very hard to get out of the international dispute resolution or agreements at this point. So we're struggling with that. However, I believe green hydrogen, solar, and wind projects in BC, as well as Carney's background environment and our continued advocacy, will steer us in the right direction. That's my hope. I recognize this is an uphill climb, but I hope that a trade war doesn't take precedence over a good war, as Seth Klein would say, towards a climate emergency plan. Thanks.
Thanks, Catherine. So there's 3 more speakers. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time for this. Just trying to get a sense of where people are at. So go ahead, Susan, you're next.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say that, like everyone else, we're quite disappointed in the outcome of the election for the NDP, of course, and the Green Party losing seats as well. And unfortunately, a lot of young people voted Conservative, and they don't remember what Conservatives were like 20 years ago, unfortunately. And it's so frustrating. I was just talking to my Labor Council president here today, and just how do you get that disinformation messaging that people are hearing and believing? How do you change their mind? Like you can give them all the fact-checked information and places they can get the facts that are true, but they don't even want to look at it. They don't believe even that is real. And I believe we're really in scary times going forward from this, not just with the United States issues, but just in this whole disinformation time we're in. And there's no easy answer to it. I mean, we've been plowing them with healthcare facts and with climate facts for how long has this been going on now here? 20 years for climate crisis, and they're not listening, or they don't believe it's totally true. So how can we change that? That's my dilemma in my back of my mind and a lot of our minds right now. In London, here in Ontario, we lost our great NDP riding we've had for 20 years due to the strategic voting and to keep Poilievre. The only thing good out of this is that we have a minority government again. That's the only thing I see as a good thing. They have to somewhat work together to cooperate a little bit on whatever they bring forward. And as for the climate aspect of it, I'm fairly new at it compared to all of you. I'm more of a labor person. But Carney, as you said, he's said a lot of things in his book. You know, he supports climate change initiatives. So we have to hold him to the fire on that, and hopefully him and all his cabinet and the government to that And that's where I see we're going in the next number of years. Thank you.
You. So I'm going to get three more speakers. We're going to stop there, and we're going to be taking up what we're doing in the fall later on. So we have an opportunity to talk a bit more towards that. Go ahead, Mia. You're on mute still. There you
go. I'm in Nanaimo, and according to the polls, we were running close second to the Conservatives. And when the night actually came, we were not close to the Conservatives at all. So people did not understand it. And the NDP had a beautiful, wonderful young woman running too. And she lost out totally too. And the people voted for Liberals to keep the Conservatives out, which actually they, in the end, were not able to do. So the election was, for me as a Green person, very disappointing for all the work we did. And we got 1,800 votes. That was it. But the polls obviously were very wrong with what's going to happen in Nanaimo.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
I just wanted to share some thoughts from Calgary that, like many of you, I'm mixed feelings about the overall election. Personally, very happy to have a Liberal representative instead of a Conservative for years and years and years here, but very disheartening here in Calgary, well, in Alberta, that the election results have given the separatists a platform, and I'm worried about how much energy and time that's going to suck out of any movement on climate and discussion. So really looking forward to the Sunday initiative for the fall. I think that'll really help us pull together here and give us a focus to get climate back on the agenda, hopefully.
Great. Thanks. Penny? Last word. You're on mute.
There we go. Hi, it's Meredith in Sackville, and Penny's right here too. And we have Dominic LeBlanc as our MP for now 25 years. He's still in there, and I guess that's a good thing. We're hoping that's a good thing. In our all candidates debate that we held here in Tantramar, he actually said that he was going to support nuclear, which was sort of mind-blowing, unfortunately. But when he was asked about renewable energy, he sort of sidestepped the question, which was interesting. There were lots of people actually up at the microphone and asking him questions about climate change, which was really good. Anyway, that was really all we could say from this perspective, I guess, from New Brunswick.
Thank you, Penny. So pretty clear that people did do a lot of work, and that in some cases, in our candidates meetings, etc., there were opportunities to present the climate. It's also pretty clear, no matter everybody's spoken, there's big challenges ahead as we go forward, and I guess that's what we'll get into when we talk about the mobilization in the fall. Over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Nick. Our election is always an interesting thing to talk about, and especially the results. And then as we find out more and more about how the structure is being set up. So it's a good point to discuss. So the next item on our agenda is the Later is Too Late film. I did want to let people know that it was booked at least in 29 of the 59 locations. So almost half had some booking of the film. Nancy has stopped the subscription to the Cinesen platform. So there was a charge for that, and so it was stopped at the end of April. But just before it was stopped, Nancy made all the videos that were on the platform available to Seniors for Climate, and we were able to get backups of a lot of the video that had been submitted from across Canada for possible future use. And we also have a copy of the 23-minute and the 60-minute version of the film. So that's Cinesen. The film is currently available both on Vimeo. The 60-minute version is on Vimeo, and the 23-minute version is on our YouTube channel. The reason why the film made it to Vimeo was because YouTube flagged the 60-minute version as having a copyright infringement. So Nancy had the rights to a particular song that was played in the film. We provided that to YouTube, who passed it on to the complainant, and the complainant denied our appeal. So we're trying to find out more about this particular company that has filed this complaint, and we will endeavor in the future to get it sorted out so that the film can be available as well on our YouTube channel. And that's the Later is Too Late film. I don't think Nancy's here, but I just wanted to point out, like, there's one person that spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours developing something that we used in our Earth Day thing. So when I say people contributing the time from their lives, there's an incredible example. I'm going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the strategy discussion by the steering committee. So at the end of the last organizers meeting in the after chat, Lois Little asked the question, well, how do we know if we're being successful? And there had been talk amongst the steering committee already about doing something about looking towards the future, because we've been very focused on basically establishing the movement, getting events up and running, getting some recognition of who we are. But we haven't really had a discussion of where we're going with all this. And so the steering committee, the date was, I think, the 5th of May, the steering committee met and had their first discussion about what a strategy for Seniors for Climate might look like. It was a very lively discussion. It was booked for 3 hours, and we had a 3-hour Zoom call. So if you think an hour and a half on this call is long, try 3 hours. But at the end of that time, we came up with quite a number of ideas, and they have been sent back out to the steering committee to consider further. They're going to be submitting some more stuff, and there will be probably at least a number of other discussions about where Seniors for Climate is going in the future. So that's the steering committee discussion. And that brings us to the fall action. And Rolly is going to take us through that particular item. Rolly, over to you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm going to share my screen, folks, and use these notes to talk about. Just going to move this over. Just bear with me here. Okay. How is that? Is that fairly easy to watch or to see?
Good.
Good size? Okay. So yes, we've just finished organizing for the spring event, and here we are turning our sights onto what we'll be doing this fall. So I guess no rest for the wicked, and that would be a very believable phrase. The fall action will be, and there are 2 days here, September 20th or 21st, and likely the 21st, but that has not been set in stone yet. What we will be doing is we'll be piggybacking on some larger scale initiatives that are happening, and I'll talk to that for a few minutes. Our fall action last year was very successful. This year, the fall action is going to be will have a global aspect to it, not because of what we're doing, but it gives us an opportunity to piggyback on a larger events that will be going on. And one of them is Third Act. And if you click on sunday.earth, you'll get a lot of information about the Third Act. Their project is going to be on the 21st of September. And I'll talk to the theme in a little bit lower down. Another group that is, and so that'll be within the United States. Third Act has 75,000 seniors as members, so it's pretty huge. And so they're organizing, in the States, obviously. 350.org is organizing globally, and they have a website as well. And one of the messages on their website is build a world run on renewable energy. CanRac, both international and in Canada, is also working with 350.org. So these are huge organizations planning a fall event, which just happens to be around the time that the Climate Week is held in New York. And I know not too many Canadians are necessarily interested in Climate Week in New York, but I'm just putting this in perspective. It's also a time that the UN General Meeting takes place. So some of the themes being considered are by Third Act, Sun Day. Now, this is not like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is a day where they will feature all kinds of events and tactics to highlight that the sun is our primary source of renewable energy going forward. The attitude there is let's not focus so much on fossil fuels and demonizing fossil fuel industry. I mean, we've tried to do that for years. That hasn't worked. It's not a time in the United States to talk a lot about climate action. So what they're doing is going past that. They're saying the future is in solar energy, the future is in renewables. So we're going to have a sun day. 350.org and CanRac have not finalized their theme, but again, as I just mentioned, as I'm looking to their website here, it will be a day of, let me just read it very quickly. Well, it's a day, their campaign is to end fossil fuels and power up with renewables. Again, very similar to Sun Day or Third Act. And here in Canada, well, we think, we being the coordinating committee and steering committee, that the theme of renewables and solar power and so on is very convenient for us, since it's going to be highlighted and featured globally. But let's not forget that we have a different context in Canada right now, and Nick was just going through some of the election discussions. Not only do we have a climate crisis, but we also have concerns about our sovereignty. There's a war of tariffs that threatens our economic stability. And then there's all the politics around energy. Then there's the threat from the US over annexation. And let's not forget the threat from Alberta about not an annexation, but cessation. So a lot of, and all of these different themes or topics, if you wish, will have climate implications. So some of the strategies that we might want to consider going forward, it's basically doing what we've done last year, which was to combine grassroots activism. We had high-profile events, we had media pressure, and we'll be providing support for organizers, again, to improve on the success we had in 2024, which was formidable, by the way. And then, as I've just mentioned, some of the peculiarities of the Canadian context right now, we have to leverage the fact that we're all in the climate emergency, but also how do we help mobilize seniors around issues like the nationalist sentiment and the threat to our sovereignty, and can that be a way of getting more people involved in making in saving Canada, saving what we love about Canada, including the climate, including the climate crisis. So again, building an unstoppable movement. Our goal this year is going to be 100 locations, and we hope to double the number of participants we had last year, which was 12,000. And it was Nick who reminded me yesterday, and a few times we've talked about this. We're really under a compressed schedule. Here we are, what's today? May the 13th. And in 6 weeks from now, we'll be into July. July is not the best of times to be planning and organizing, although we can't take July off completely. It will slow down. So just a reminder to everyone that this is not far away, and we're under a compressed schedule, and it's time to start exploring our ideas and venues. And you might be thinking, well, we can't do that until we have more details, and that's the discussion we're having now. But we will not have the level of detail that we will have, say, for the next organizers meeting. So some of the tactics that we've heard come up, during different meetings that we've had with organizers or discussions. We want high visibility, large numbers this year. That seems to be the thrust, at least globally. For example, Canada is trying to get funding to power about 10,000 people on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. So again, that depends on funding and whether they can have a mass media campaign to get that going. But just back to our own groups. Someone had mentioned at one time gathering along the Trans-Canada Highway with signs, posters, or demonstrations, protests. That might be a way of unifying all of the 100 locations across Canada, not all of which, I guess, are on the Trans-Canada Highway, but close to. Someone had mentioned ringing alarm bells across the country, maybe at the same time or same, well, it's going to be, we're not sure if every location will have their event on the 21st of September, but it's certainly on the 21st of September, if that's the day, having a joint or collective ringing alarm bells across the country, flash mobs, street art, theater, and of course, promoting the Later is Too Late screenings. This film has a lot of potential for mobilizing even more people. And we've talked a lot about also doing letters to the editor, op-eds, open letters. We're working on an open letter to the Prime Minister and to members of Parliament. That'll happen probably early in June. Maximize our media coverage, secure interviews and feature stories for that day. And of course, there's the usual social media and traditional media blitz. And what we're contemplating is having a brainstorming session for organizers to talk about fall actions. We will be sending out an email about that. We haven't come up with a date, but I would imagine that will be sooner rather than later. Let me just put it that way. And please put your name in the chat if you think this is a good idea. We'll still send out an email, but if you would like to be part of a brainstorming meeting or session, then it'll give us an idea of whether we should move forward with this. So that's pretty well what I have to say right now about the fall event, Dave.
Thank you, Rolly.
Mm-hmm.
Lots to talk about there.
Indeed.
And as you said, the main thing is why wait for spring, do it now. Or in that case, we might want to say, why wait for summer, do it now. Yeah. Because people do tend to disappear during the months of July and August on vacations. So I'm going to move on to the next item in the agenda. And this was something that Avril Torrance from Okanagan brought up not too long ago. She suggested that we do something about Seniors Week and Canadian Environmental Week, which happens to be the first week of June. And so there's been some discussion in the national team about this, and we felt that we would be prepared to do something like put together some suggested ideas for a letter that could be sent out to the various members of parliament, but also provincial and territorial representatives and municipal representatives. We didn't want to get into organizing another action, although we are encouraging if the locations want to get together and organize something on their own, that's fantastic, and we'll do what we can to support you. But what we're suggesting right now is a letter writing campaign. So just to give you some background on that, back in January, the Council of Canadians came up with uh, a little campaign to unite for Canada, unite for the Canada we want. And then on March the 18th, the oil and gas industry executives put together a letter called Build Canada Now, which is basically their list of demands to all the federal leadership candidates on what they wanted Canada to do for their future. Seniors for Climate got together and put together their own letter to candidates, which was a response to the oil and gas letter, which was sent out on April the 1st. And then on April the 11th, quite a number of municipal leaders got together and sent out a letter called Elbows Up for Climate. And we were encouraging people at the last organizers meeting to check with their localities to find out whether their politicians had signed on to that letter, and if not, to urge them to do it. And then on April the 30th, after the election, the oil and gas industry sent out another letter congratulating Mr. Carney on becoming the next prime minister again. But it was basically an update on their Build the Canada We Want Now letter. So there's been quite a bit of letter writing going back and forth, and there's quite a number of things that need to be addressed in those letters that came from the oil and gas industry. Support for the municipal leaders and their elbows up for climate. And so those are the things that we are suggesting that goes ahead. But we're not going to be standing in your way if you would like to get together and organize something. And I just want to take this time now to open things up. But just one more thing, while people are considering talking. So the June is Seniors Month in Newfoundland, Ontario, and the Northwest Territories, the entire month of June. In Alberta and BC, Seniors Week is June 2nd to 8th, which is the same as the Canadian Environmental Week. In Nova Scotia, Seniors Week last year at least was October the 1st to 7th. In Saskatchewan, it was September the 29th to October the 4th, and Canadian Environmental Week is June the 2nd to 8th. So I want to open the floor, and Avril, if you're here, or anybody else who would like to talk, please do so. And Lori, I see you. Please go ahead.
Thanks. I work with Avril in Penticton together. So our community is doing something, and our seniors group called One Sky has a whole week planned. It's actually after the sort of BC week, but we've joined them, and we're going to be presenting for an hour. We've got an hour to present, and we'll probably run the 23-minute doc. And then also our seniors drop-in center has an open house on the 7th, I think. And so we'll be there with a table. And it's a great way to try to get more people on board. Because they're already doing it, it's really easy for us to just, piggyback into something and just get a little bit more coverage. So we're lucky that way.
there anybody else that would like to, does anyone like the idea of being able to do a letter writing campaign? Go ahead, Catherine.
I was just going to ask Lori where she is presenting for 1 hour.
I'll talk to you about it later.
Oh, okay. All right. I know there's a number of City of Kelowna events regarding infrastructure. And I sent a few letters there today regarding the Zero Step Code, because we're trying to further the climate action plan in Kelowna. But insofar as a seniors week, I like the idea of a letter writing campaign. That's where I'd start. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Go ahead, Avril.
Thanks very much, Dave. Sorry, there's reasons I don't have my video on, but I am here listening attentively and prepared to chat when asked. I am really just curious if some other places within the national organization, if they're aware of their cities or communities already having seniors week events, because as Lori mentioned, it's pretty, they're always wanting to open up and encourage people to attend, I think. And so it was, as Lori suggested, relatively easy to just tack on. And so I feel that we have, everybody has all kinds of materials. For example, Dave, we successfully have used reprints of the municipal council and mayor letter that you alluded to earlier, in order to demonstrate that indeed that we are part of a much larger group of, involved and concerned people politically across the entire country. The other thing to suggest there is that it really becomes an opportunity to advertise and to encourage discussion throughout the summer in preparation toward something like the Sunday that's been talked about, so that it's like you kind of bookend the summer, if you will, through June and then leading up to September. So I do believe that it has lots and lots of potential, and maybe a letter writing campaign, even that is done in a public setting, so that others can say, hey, I enjoy that letter. I really agree with that. Can I sign on to it too? And then, so even just having a simple table at a farmer's market or something of that kind can work as well. And it just is a natural confluence of environment and seniors at the beginning of June that we can take advantage of in our municipalities and cities.
That's a cool idea, having a table and just having maybe letters for members of the public to sign to be sent in. Thanks, Avril. Margaret, go ahead. Margaret Ann, sorry.
I just in Halifax, it's Oceans Week, and also I forget some other environmental week. So June 7th, the Ecology Action Center is having, it's called a Parade for Life on the Planet. And it's quite an extraordinary event to see. I've been the last 2 years. They have like giant puppet animals and people who are whole islands with trees. Anyway, there are floats, but nothing's allowed to be motorized. There's no big plastic things allowed. I'm building a bell out of cardboard for Seniors for Climate. It does have some plastic fasteners, but I don't know how else not to put it together with cardboard. I can't do it, but and that will be we'll be handing out things, asking people to come together in a group. What I thought was October, but is now September 21st. I hope the church is available. For us, it will have to be the Saturday, probably. Because of using church halls and things like that, we may do something a little more nefarious on Saturday. But we'll be having a kind of event that's a big information event. We had 120 people last year, trying to attract people to go to actions by making something a little less risky, but we'll also have actions this year in the fall event, but I'm quite excited about this being in the Parade for Life on the Planet. It's a great event, and we're just going to piggyback on that.
Thank you, Margaret. I hope that there is a speaker system in your bell and it rings out the emergency alarm very loud. Thanks.
We're going to actually use probably, sounds. We're looking for bell sounds that actually aren't too, like we're almost looking for a carillon kind of sounds, and we're going to put them on our phone. And yeah, I'll have a small speaker.
Good idea.
We won't be shrieking at people because
throughout the crowd. Woo!
But we will be ringing bells.
This idea just keeps on rolling.
I like it. I like sound the alarm, ring the bell.
I love it too.
It still can ring, so we just can't let it go. We're doing it.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaret.
I have to say, there's fewer people around. Like it's harder to recruit people this year.
That they may come back. Go ahead, Francis.
Audio and lower my hand. Okay, so I'm holding in my hand a 4-page flyer that Guy Dauncey, depending on where you are in the country, it changes his pronunciation. It is a 4-page flyer to explain exactly why LNG is the wrong thing, all the problems it has. It's very detailed. It's got charts and graphs and pictures and a letter to MLAs. And the idea is to flood the MLAs in British Columbia, especially the NDP ones, with this brochure and take it to them personally if we can. And I just thought you should be aware that this is available. And it costs about just slightly under $1 a piece if you order them in any kind of quantity. So I ordered 50 and mine were under $1 a piece. So just thought I'd make you aware that that was an opportunity.
Can you post where we can buy them?
You go to We Can, or you just write to Guy Dauncey. Just a second here, I'll get you out his email address.
Francis, so we can move on. Do you mind just putting it in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you very much. Rolly, go ahead, and you'll be the last before we move on.
Just very quickly, for those of you who are writing or thinking of writing open letters, we're working on several versions of open letters right now, we being Christine and I. So we should have some materials to share, I don't know, within a week or so. Just thought I'd let you know.
Thank you, Rolly. And back to you. This is a ping pong moment because it's back to you to talk about elevator pitches.
Oh, yes. Let me share my screen. Okay. So how the way this got going, this idea about elevator pitches, I think it might have been at one or maybe the second steering committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now. Brian Patterson asked at the end of the meeting, for those of you who don't know, Brian always likes to end every steering committee with a little comment or a question or a reminder, and we all appreciated him for that. But he wanted to know, for example, do we have any material? Do we have anything? If someone asks us, I'm a senior, why should I get involved in the climate movement? What can I do? I'm only one person, and so on. So we came up with this idea that we would develop some materials that people might be able to use. And to give you a little bit of information on this, I've been working with some of the material is developed is AI assisted. And so we produced a bunch of documents that you may find useful for several different purposes. So an elevator pitch is a short, compelling summary of a project or an idea that you can deliver in the time that it takes to write an elevator Now, many of you probably live in very small communities. There's not even any elevators, so don't worry about that part of it. But it's basically how to quickly capture someone's interest or attention on a it can be something of core message, a value, a purpose. It can be based on the mission, solving a problem. And we've created this folder, the Google Drive folder. And again, you will have these notes. We will send these to you. If you click on that folder, it opens up all of these documents here. Why Canadian seniors must step up for climate action. 10 reasons. You can switch those around and how seniors can make a difference. 10 ways we can make a difference. Not only why we should be involved, but how we can make a difference. How to use some of these 10 reasons or 10 ways in a short speech or conversation that you might have, that you might be giving at a gathering. How to use, again, that same material to prepare an event script or a little cafe chat, a public speaking script. And we also have a few documents in there that would focus on the asks that seniors should make maybe of their government. And just to give you an example of these, I'll just click on this one here, and it'll open up this document, Why Canadian Seniors Must Step Up for Climate. Number one, we owe it to future generations. Number two, with the largest voting bloc in Canada, the climate crisis is escalating, so must we, and on and on and on. So a lot of good material that you can use as is, modify for your own, customize for your own audiences or your own purposes. And so we would encourage you to look at these in the next, between now and the next meeting, when we return to meet with you in June, and we may be able to go into more detail at that time. But for the time being, I'm not going to go through each document. There's a lot there, but these are just again tools that you can use for your own purposes, and even for a public speaking or a cafe chat or kitchen table meeting, just ways to prepare and maybe start a conversation with those who you might think can be mobilized into our movement. So that's it for this portion. David, if there are any questions, I don't know, but I think it's a question of visiting the folder that we'll provide, and if there's something missing, something you would like, something specific, as did Brian when he asked for this, we came up with some tools.
Thank you, Rolly. There is a question in the chat about whether it'll be on the website. And I think what I'm hearing is there will be a link added at some point.
Oh, yes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Don't see any hands raised, so I will move on to closing and just say thank you all once again for attending. Our next meeting will be June the 10th at 6:30 Eastern. We will be continuing after this meeting ends until 8:15 with an after chat. If people want to stay behind and chat some more, that'll be going on for another 30 minutes, basically. And I know I'm supposed to give you all kinds of reminders, but they're not popping into my mind right now. Can anybody nudge me? Rolly, Nick?
Well, one thing is to remind, if people are interested in that session on tactics, put your name in the chat. That's the main one. They demonstrate this to September 20th or 21st. The main thing is public, people in the streets. We can start organizing that now, and the more people we get, the more coalitions we build, the more effective we can be, and we'll be course reporting out on that.
Thank you, Nick. And while you were talking, it popped back into mind. So I'm supposed to ask you once again, to, if you have any subscribers list, to please send them in to the admin email, and we'll get them added into our subscriber list. Again, if you have any photos, they are all available to you. I'll make sure that the link goes out in the follow-up note to this meeting. Each location has its own folder, and all the photos that we have received and videos are inside those folders. And that concludes tonight's meeting. And thank you all. I'm actually seeing some smiling faces. So I think people had a good time. And that's really important because climate doesn't have to be serious all the time. We can have fun.
Okay.
I just want to thank the organizers and in the headquarters. You've been absolutely fantastic in the way you've approached all this. I really appreciate the support at our end because we're very thin on the ground, and you guys make it feel possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you, Francis. Tylene, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could just repeat, I couldn't quite get it fast enough, the name of the week. Was it Environmental Week from June 2nd to 8th?
There's
What was the
Canadian Environmental Week, which is June the 2nd to 8th. And a number of provinces also have Seniors Week during the same time.
Okay, I got the Alberta one. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, the Canadian website is not up yet. I got an email from the government saying, oh, they're working on it and they'll have it ready for the event. And I replied, it's 2 weeks away.
Thank you. Margaret Ann?
Sorry. This is a sort of an odd question. The QR code that you used last year for the October event that took one to the pledge, that won't work anymore, right?
I think the
It's
pledge
just an odd thought I just had about walking in this parade because I had a giant flexiboard sign made of that
Sorry.
we use at our.
Can I just put this on hold? So
Yeah.
I will say that that's the end of the meeting, and I think we're about to start the after chat. So anybody who would like to leave, feel free to exit. Anyone who would like to stay around and chat a bit more, please stay on the line.